Ada, after going no contact with my in-laws after being verbally attacked by my SIL, when we announced we're expecting our second baby, edit. I apologize for not putting this in paragraph form. I was just upset and trying to get as much detail as I could without making it longer than it was already going to be. I have adjusted that and added more info at the end that hopefully answers many questions I've been asked. Warning, this is a bit long. My husband and I met 6 years ago. We started out as just friends and came to realize we loved each other so much. I come from a really big family who has always been loving, open-minded, and supportive. I live in the US and they are all in Ireland, but we are still close. I told my family about my husband, and they were very accepting. My husband's family is from Colombia and are really great people. They are really close and loving as well. However, his parents and sister are not very accepting or open-minded about many things. He has 2 older brothers that are, and he has a closer bond with them. He's told me since we met that his sister is very judgmental. When he told his sister about us, she had a problem with me, even without knowing me. And her husband made negative comments about me being Irish. Her husband is white, so their issue wasn't about wanting to keep the family only Colombian. Either way, my husband informed them that it's his life and his choice. Time passed, and it seemed that after getting to know me, they had come to accept me. I was being included in every event, including an out-of-town family reunion. When we decided to get married, everyone was happy from both families, except my husband's sister. She is the only one who had an issue with it. Again, my husband had to remind her that it's his life. A year later, we became pregnant with our first child. We announced the news to my family, and they were ecstatic. We announced it to my husband's parents, and they were equally ecstatic. The following week, we announced it to his sister and her husband. Her husband immediately lit up and congratulated us, but she just kind of went quiet and then turned to her mother and started an off-topic conversation. I was thrown back by her reaction, and my husband was completely hurt, but we said nothing and just finished the night as if it never happened. We're both pretty high on keeping the peace. A week later, my husband told his sister that she really hurt him with her reaction, and they had a long talk. Afterwards, she was completely supportive during my pregnancy. She checked on me constantly and even paid to throw a beautiful baby shower at the clubhouse in our neighborhood. I went into preterm labor and had to spend 2 weeks in hospital before ending in a cesarean. It was very hard, but she was there through that as well and came to refill our fridge when we got home so we wouldn't have to leave. She has been an amazing aunt for nearly 2 years. Just before our son's 2nd birthday, we found out we are pregnant with our second baby. We were surprised, since this time it wasn't planned, but still excited. We told my family, and as usual, they were extremely happy for us. However, my husband was hesitant to tell not only his sister this time, but also his parents. I was so confused, but he said that he knows they would all have a problem, and he wanted to wait until his brother came to tell them. I thought he was just overreacting. When his brother arrived, we went on a walk, and my husband told him the news. He was happy for us. When we got back to his parents' house, my husband told them he had news, but only his mother actually paid attention when he pulled out the ultrasound pics. She immediately turned the pics face down and started speaking to my husband quietly in what seemed like a worried voice. I couldn't hear her and asked my husband what was going on. Then his father and sister came over. By this time I was frustrated, and I told them myself while my husband pulled out the pics again. Immediately his father started speaking in a very angry tone in Spanish only, and his sister took off upstairs. I was so upset by their reactions that I couldn't concentrate on translation, but I could tell by the back and forth of angry voices that it was nothing good. I got fed up and started collecting me and our son's belongings to leave. My son had followed my SIL upstairs, so I went to get him. When I got up there, she was commenting about us leaving, and I said, "Yes, we're leaving." I'm very tired of every time we have happy news to share with this family, it's almost always met with a negative reaction. It's the first time I've ever spoken up to anyone in his family, BTW. She responded by screaming as loud as possible, "This is nothing to be happy about. You ruined my brother's life." At this point, I was looking at my son, who I was holding while walking towards the stairs, and he started tearing up and about to cry. He had never been around anyone screaming or even arguing before, and he was clearly terrified. I didn't respond to my SIL. Instead, I just went as quickly as possible to get out of there and in my car. She followed me all the way to the door, still screaming. I had tuned out most of what she was saying, but I could hear her calling me a B***** numerous times. Also, her own son and her brother's 2 children was there watching this all happen as well, and they all looked equally upset. My husband was outside at my car with his brother, so he had no idea this was happening. But his parents did, and they didn't stop her or say anything. After I buckled my son in the car seat, I realized I had left my keys inside. When I went back in to grab my keys, she started screaming again. I was so stressed at that point I couldn't even think straight to find my keys, so I decided it would be best to just send my husband in to look for them. As I was walking out, she followed me, causing a scene outside, now screaming, "You're bringing another child in this world to suffer." I turned around in shock and responded, "You literally leave your son regularly with your parents to go on holidays and to parties. Maybe spend more time worrying about how he suffers." Then proceeded to my car. I hadn't even noticed her coming after me or my husband jumping in her face until I sat in the car and looked over. He was yelling back at her, "SDFU and go inside." After all the horrible things she had been saying to me, she had the nerve to tell him, "How dare you tell me to shut up?" He repeated himself, and this time she did in fact shut up and go back inside. The next day, I sent her a long text telling her how much it hurt me that she acted that way, and even more that she did it in front of all the kids. I advised her that I no longer feel safe around her and would not be allowing this type of person in me or my children's lives. I also made it clear that I do not speak for my husband and I don't come in between family, so whatever his choice is, I will accept and respect it. She responded apologizing, but immediately started blaming my husband for her behavior and anger. Neither my husband or I have any idea why, but I don't even care. To me, an apology is taking full accountability for your actions without excuses or blame shifting. A few days later, her husband, who was not there when this happened, sent me a text asking if we could all 4 meet and talk, or just him and I if I didn't feel comfortable being around her yet. I told him I would need time to consider it. He responded by telling me whenever I'm ready to let him know, and that my SIL is really upset, and then he report.